Welcome into today's edition of Saints Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, as always, Trace Girouard. In today's show, we're going to be discussing some UDFAs that may make the roster. 5 UDFAs specifically that I believe will make the roster. And just kind of as a preface, we'll get to that in here in a second. But let's talk about it. Who has the better beignets? Cafe du Monde or Cafe Beignet? I'm going Cafe du Monde every single time. I understand it's a tourist trap. I understand all that. But man, it's so good. The vibes are immaculate right in front of the French Quarter. Like, it's just a good spot. It's such a good spot. So let me know. I always get mine with chocolate milk. I'm not a big black coffee guy, but I always go chocolate milk, big old plate of beignets. So let me know, CDM or CB for the better beignets. And as for today's show, I'm going to be discussing the 5 UDFAs I think will make the final 53-man roster. And just so you guys know, we're not going to be talking about UDFAs from last year's class. So guys like Lucas Kroll, Smoke Monday, obviously Rashid Shaheed is going to make the roster. But we're not going to be talking about guys like that. We're going to instead focus on guys like Jerron Cage, some of the other names I'm going to get to. But I just mentioned him, so let's talk about Jerron Cage. Because he was a defensive tackle brought in out of the Ohio State University. The New Orleans Saints and Ohio State pipeline is thick, it's long, giggity, and it is a very healthy relationship from the Buckeyes to the Saints. The silver, or the scarlet and silver, turns to the black and gold very easily. Jerron Cage, last season in 2022, he only had 12 tackles, a sack and a half, and 2.5 tackles for a loss. However, the current defensive line depth chart is it's not weak, it's just thin, I would say. And you can look at all these names and be like, oh, but Trace, there's all these names on here. These are all good players. These are all guys who make NFL rosters. And I'm not saying that they're not good players, but I just look at the defensive interior, and I don't know if I necessarily trust Malcolm Roach to consistently put up numbers. I don't know if I can say the same thing about Heflin. I don't know about the same thing about Amelie Prince. I'm not saying that they're bad players. I'm just saying the Saints like to use their depth at the defensive line. They like to rotate the defensive line a lot. And when you have a guy like Brian Brzee and Nathan Shepard, Brian Brzee specifically, he's young. Nathan Shepard, he's still pretty young in his NFL career. So having just another player in the depth chart, I don't think is out of the question. And let's be honest, guys. The Saints' interior defensive line wildly underperformed in 2022. I mean, it was bad. It wasn't good. It was very unfortunate because we did have to see guys like Shai Tuttle and David Onyemata go. David Onyemata really found his stride in this latter half of the season, in my opinion. I think that Jerron Cage has not an easy route to make it, but he has a route that's definitely there. It's clear. Just produce, be the guy that they want you to be, and fit into the depth chart well. And I think that Jerron Cage could definitely make the roster. So guys, before we keep this thing rocking and rolling, don't forget to subscribe. We break down Saints news, rumors, analysis. We go live. We put out shorts. We have a community tab, post on social media. We do it all here at Saints Now by Chat Sports, so be sure to lock us in, subscribe, turn on your notifications, because that way you never miss a video, you never miss an update, you never miss a chance for us to go live. All right, so we went from Jerron Cage. Now let's stick on the defensive side of the ball. Nick Anderson. He's a linebacker out of Tulane. And let's call it how it is. This guy's story, incredible. He has an amazing story. He played a little bit at Jones County Junior College. I'm going to talk about some of his story here in a second, but just look at these numbers. Dude's a tackling machine. 113 tackles, 2 sacks, 4 pass breakups, 0 interceptions. That's fine. 2 forced fumbles. That being said, in 2018, he came out of Jones County Junior College. He became a staple on the Green Wave defense whenever he transferred to Tulane. He wanted to go play SEC football. He's from Mississippi. He's a guy who wanted to go and play under the big lights in the big stadium with the loud fans. But his coaching staff said, focus on what you're doing. You need to go and perform. And at the end of the day, you can go and be a very impactful player and play all the time if you go to a school like Tulane. And that's where he ended up. He was a 2-star recruit coming out of high school, which is interesting. And he was the number 41 overall player in Mississippi. I find that very interesting. And just more on why I think that Nick Anderson could make the roster. The Saints are thin at linebacker, and Anderson, he's an excellent leader and great culture guy. Now, he is a little undersized, but when you look at the depth chart, It's thin. It's thin. Like, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong, please. Pete Werner, if he can stay healthy, he's a great linebacker. Zach Bond, don't know if I would say the same thing about him. He's a guy who I don't necessarily absolutely love getting a lot of touches, a lot of time on the field. Zach Bond is just a guy who he's just not lived up to what expectations. I truly do believe that DeMarco Jackson could have a breakout season this year. Ty Summers, Andrew Dowell, these are all guys that I think could do well. Nefi Sewell, Ryan Connolly, Anfernee Orji. But then you also have Nick Anderson on the step chart. So I think that this is a very good chance for Nick Anderson. If he performs well, continues to perform well at OTAs and at training camp, I think that Nick Anderson will make the roster. But what say you, Saints fans? Will Nick Anderson make the roster? Type M for make, type W for he won't. You see M, W, let me know. Let me know. Who is he going to make the roster? I'm going to say M. I'm going to type my M's in the chat, but I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from the Who Dat Nation because the show is all about you. All right, so we're going to flip over to the offensive side of the ball. Mark Evans, the second. Don't get it twisted. He's not Mark Evans. He's Mark Evans the second. The offensive tackle out of University of Arkansas, Pine-Bluff, down in Pine-Bluff, Arkansas. And investments were made here. Mark Evans is the highest paid UDFA in this year's class. The Saints invested in him. The Saints gave him a good amount of money. They want him to be an impactful player in New Orleans. They want him to be a player that is rotated through and gets to be on the field, barring an injury, barring, bad play. He's a player that I think the Saints are pretty high on. And when you take a look at his PFF grades, they're not going to jump out at the screen at you and make you think, oh my gosh, how did this guy go undrafted? This guy is insane. What the heck is going on here? I mean, a 62.9% or 62.9 overall PFF grade, 63.5 run block grade, 64.4 pass block. He gave up 3 sacks. But again, I think that the Saints could actually be a team, or not the Saints. I think that Mark Evans could actually be a player that makes the Saints team. Mark Evans, also just to kind of lay things out for you, he will likely move from the left tackle position that he played to left guard. So a common theme for the Saints offensive line, it's a lot of diversity. It's a lot of different traits. It's a lot of different looks. There's a lot of different positions and versatility that the Saints have. Nick Saldiveri can play literally anywhere on the line. He was one of your draft picks in the day 3. I believe round 4. Yeah, round 4, day 3 is the first pick because Saints traded up to go get him. Mark Evans, the second, he will likely move from left tackle to left guard. So look for that. The transition's already happened. He's starting to look well from the reports I'm seeing and stuff. But let's see if he makes the roster. I think that he actually has a pretty good shot, and the Saints paid him because I think that they believe he could be an impactful player. All right, so let's talk about it, guys. I'm getting a Chris Olave jersey. I told you I'm getting it. But if you haven't picked up a jersey yet, go to chatsports.com/Saints jerseys. We got men's. We got women's. We got any player you want. We got home. We got away. Look how clean that is. We got color rush. We got throwbacks. We got any player you want. Any team. Or not any team. The Saints team, but obviously. But we got any player you want. Point being, you got to use this link, chatsports.com/Saints jerseys, to take advantage of the deal that we're trying to get there. We're trying to get you guys all Saints jerseys. So get like me. Go get yourself a Chris Olave jersey or a Derek Carr jersey, Tyrann Mathieu, Jamal Williams, whatever. I don't care. Just go get a jersey and use our link, chatsports.com/Saints jerseys. The link will be available in the comment section in the description of today's video. All right. So we went from Mark Evans, who wore some black and gold or black and yellow in college, to another guy who wore some black and gold in college, and that's Anfernee Orji, the linebacker out of Vanderbilt, the former Commodore. He is a player I have a lot of faith in. A lot of NFL analysts and a lot of draft experts actually had Anfernee Orji mocked in like the 6th round, 7th round. Like he was just expected to be drafted. However, he fell. Didn't get drafted, and the Saints said, I'm greedy. Give me him. I want him. So, and this is why, though. Look at the stats. They're impressive. 106 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 pass breakup, 1 interception, and all this done in 12 games. And it's not like Vanderbilt is the cream of the crop in terms of quality college football programs. but they do play against the cream of the crop of quality college football programs. They're playing against the likes of Bama, which they're not that good this year, LSU, Georgia, Florida. They play these kind of teams, and he put up good numbers. So I think that Anfernee Orji is a quality player, and he's really athletic, and the measurables are definitely worth noting. Now, obviously, there's a little bit of a lack of size here, but he is wildly athletic. The 6'1", 230 pounds, I get it. That's a little small for a linebacker, especially at the NFL level. But the 40-yard dash, the 10-yard split, that's impressive. And his relative athletic score, his RAS, if you don't know anything about it, it's basically just his combine grades, all that stuff put together to see how athletic you are. And it's on a scale of, like 0 or 1 to 10. He got a 9.23. Dude's an athletic freak. He's very athletic. He is undersized. And my take on it, he could really bring some special teams ability. He could bring a lot to the special teams side of the ball. And now I understand that he's a linebacker, and I understand that there's a need there, but I just don't know if the Saints are going to rely on Anfernee Orji to go and put in consistent reps at the linebacker position just yet. I'm not saying it won't happen, but right now it feels like it's a little too early in his career. And I think that he could be a quality special teams player. He plays fast. He plays aggressive. He plays hard. So this is a guy that if he plays well on special teams, or he shows a lot of promise in special teams at OTAs and at training camp, I expect Anfernee Orji to make the roster. But guys, I need you to shout them out for me. Who's your favorite UDFA from this year's class? There's a lot of good ones. There's guys like Sir Roderick Thompson, running back out of Texas Tech. My personal favorite, Lou Hedley, out of Miami, the punter, the tatted Aussie. I love that guy. Dude, I'm praying that he makes a roster. I will take 2 punters. I don't care. Shoot the messenger all you want. I just like Lou Hedley. I think it'd be fun. So let me know who's your favorite UDFA from this year's class. There's also great guys like Shaq Davis, Anfernee Orji, any of the guys we listed today. Or there's even this guy, Malik Flowers. He's our number 1 guy as a UDFA that I believe will make the roster. He's a wide receiver. He's a kick return specialist. He is a player that lit it up when it comes to the kick returns. I mean, in his career at Montana, Malik Flowers, his return stats were pretty impressive. He had 92 attempts, 2,569 yards, 7 touchdowns, which if that number looks familiar, ties Rashid Shaheed's kick return touchdown record from Weber State. And then he had just under 28.9 yards per kick return on average. The kid's a stud. And he's a player that I truly think can make a really good impact. And if Flowers makes this roster, it opens up Rashid Shaheed to do so much more. It opens him up to be able to be an offensive threat. Not just a kick return specialist, not just a punt return specialist, but Malik Flowers gives Rashid Shaheed the ability to focus on the offensive side of the ball and to be more productive, more explosive, and give him more opportunity there. So my take on this as a whole, Rashid Shaheed and Malik Flowers to round things out. Shaheed, his ceiling is so high already. He has so many great qualities. He has so many great attributes. And honestly, having 2 versions of him, awesome problem to have. I would love to have this problem, to be honest, because you got 2 speedsters, 2 great runners, finds open space. Duh, it's an easy move. Great problem to have. I think it would be awesome to see Malik Flowers make the roster, and I truly do believe he will. So honorable mention to these 4 guys: Lou Hedley, my good dude, Aussie out of Miami, down in Florida, punter. He's tatted head to toe. He is just so cool, man. He is the coolest guy in the NFL right now. Shaq Davis out of South Carolina State, wide receiver. He's a standout. He's a guy that a lot of people are high on. I really want him to make the roster. It's just a very competitive wide receiver room, and I think Malik Flowers might edge him out. Alex Filstrom, he could also find himself making the roster as a backup center, as a depth lineman piece. Anthony Johnson, the DB, he could also find himself on the roster in case if there's any sort of injury issues, there's any sort of, lack of production or concerns or whatever. But these are just a few honorable mention guys that could make the roster for the 53-man final roster in New Orleans. All right, let's get out of here. let's let you guys get back to your evening. Let's let you guys get back to your wonderful days. How many UDFAs will make the roster? Take a guess for me. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you for making Saints Now a part of your day. Thank you for making us, or for watching us no matter where you are or how you're tuned in. We always greatly appreciate you. Y'all stay golden. We'll catch you next time.